Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laron, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaron.com. Hello and welcome to episode 112. 112 is a good number, 112. And in this episode, I'm going to follow up to what I talked about last week because, I was listening to the episode and I thought, maybe I have another opportunity to explain what I'm doing in simpler terms that maybe will get you excited. Because sometimes I get so involved in my own ideas that I don't always articulate them very well. And that is why I am building a database, why I have stopped writing for the past week, why I have stopped creating content for the past week, why I have focused on learning the ins and outs of Microsoft Access and Microsoft Excel because of the bonanza and the gold mine that it will help me build for my writing business. All right, so we're going to talk about that. But first, real quick in announcements. So first things first, be sure if you are interested in what I have to say today, I have a blog post, actually a blog series that is about 12 parts long right now. All the things you want to know about this at authorlevelup.com/copyright database. So if the things I'm saying today are lighting up those neurons in your brain, then go to authorlevelup.com/copyright database. You can read along. You can see exactly what I'm building, why I'm building it with screenshots and videos to make this a little bit more concrete with what I'm going to talk about today. And one of the things that I've been doing as a part of this is I have been building Excel macros. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about those here in a minute. But if you happen to be an Excel savvy person and you would like to test something that could be very helpful to you in calculating your royalties for your royalty reports, well, feel free to email me at authorlevelup.com/contact. I will talk about that in a moment. So my win for the week. So my win for the week is that I did something that I never, ever, about 2 weeks ago, thought I would ever do, and that is I learned the basics of Microsoft Excel Visual Basic for Applications, VBA, in about 48 hours. It's kind of funny because I was talking last week about how Microsoft Excel is not my jam. It's just not the program I'd want to go to war with. If you told me that I could only use one program for the rest of my life, I would probably pick maybe Ulysses, maybe Scrivener. I would not pick Microsoft Excel. But I realized that this solution to the royalty problem that I'm going to talk about had to be solved with Excel. So I said, you know what? I've got the ability to sit down and absorb a lot of material. And so I went off and I went on YouTube and I went on all these other places and I learned the basics of Excel VBA, which really is a programming language. So I learned the basics of a programming language in about 48 hours and I wrote about 10,000 lines of code over the past 3 days. Oh, I'm nuts. I'm just nuts. I don't even know how the hell I did this. I don't even know how I have the intelligence to even sit down and do this, but I did it and I figured it out. Like I was able to find code and write most of it is pretty basic, but there were some parts of it that were a little sophisticated that were like, oh, okay, this is kind of different. It's kind of unique. So that was my win for the week, a new skill that I picked up. Certainly probably not something I'm going to advertise, but if I'm in a pinch and I need to do some Excel wizard stuff, I know how to do Excel VBA. And if you don't know what VBA is, essentially, it's a part of Excel that a lot of people don't know exists, and it allows you to automate very routine or mundane tasks. So let's say, for example, you get a royalty report every month, and the royalty report is formatted so poorly that you have to fix it in order to be able to read what it says. So if you have to do this every month, well, it might take you 2 or 3 minutes of rearranging the columns and changing names and highlighting columns and making things more visible and doing some sum calculations and so on and so forth. Well, why not just automate that and have a program automatically do that with the click of a button so that you don't have to do all that rearranging? And that's one of the most powerful features of Excel. So if you can learn the ability to do macros, most of which you can do just by recording yourself doing certain things, and then if you can go behind the scenes and adjust the code and clean it up and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, well, you can take what takes a 2 or 3 minute process down to like 5 seconds. You literally just click a button, you watch your screen calculate everything, and then in 5 seconds, your Excel spreadsheet is exactly how you want it every single time. So it's very helpful if you have things that come in that are the same all the time, where you want to save yourself some time. And royalty statements are always the same. They are, for the most part, always consistent in terms of formatting. And so I learned how to take a royalty statement, write VBA for it, and rearrange it to where it is readable and easily imported into my database. 5 seconds. All right, so that took me about 3 days, and I'm very proud of that. The lesson I learned this week is, something I had hinted at last week, and that is that I talked about Excel and how it's not really my program. It doesn't. There's a lot of programs that I pick up very intuitively. Like I tend to be a tech savvy person. Scrivener didn't take me very long. Ulysses didn't take me very long. Audio editing and video editing, all that stuff, it just comes naturally to me. Excel does not come naturally to me. I even sat down and took like a 3 or 4 hour introduction to Excel and kind of the basics and stuff, and I don't know that I retained a whole lot of it because it's just not how I think. And so I've learned though that I am able to navigate it, and I was able to figure some things out, and I walked away with some keyboard shortcuts and some knowledge of the software that I didn't have before, and I think that that's always a win, right? We're always going to be looking at data in some way. We're always going to be having to look at and interpret what we see, and so the more we understand Excel, the better. And so the handful of things I picked up this week, I am going to call that a win. Also, I wanted to talk about a copyright case that just came off the presses, another lesson learned. It was a very interesting read. If you have heard about the eBook service, ebook.bike, there was a copyright infringement case that was settled, I believe, in East Texas. Verdict came down in favor of the author who sued ebook.bike for copyright infringement. And it's a great lesson in how, as I was reading through some legal analysis of the case, I thought this is a great introduction to the basics of how copyright infringement works. Like if you find someone who is infringing on your work. So this site, ebook.bike, had ebook versions of a lot of different authors, and they were free for download. And unfortunately, a lot of authors really couldn't do anything about it because they didn't have the money to litigate. But there was one author, John Van Stry, I believe his name was, who decided, you know what, I'm going to try this and I'm going to see if I can make it happen. And fortunately for all of us, and fortunately for him, he won the case. But he didn't win very much. I think he had a GoFundMe page that said he needed about $70,000 to try this case. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have $70,000 just laying around. I don't think I can go behind my couch and pick up $70,000. It's a lot of money. And I think he raised about $30,000, $31,000, if I remember the numbers correctly on the GoFundMe page. So that's about $40,000 that he had to come out of pocket in order to only win, get this, I believe it was $9,000 in damages. I think he got his attorney's fees too, but I mean, can you believe that? You spend all that money only to get a verdict of $9,000 in damages. I mean, I think there was more to it as well. But he definitely didn't recoup his costs, and that's just kind of crazy, And so it goes back to, if you are willing to be a crusader and a warrior, and you've got the money laying around, God bless you. God bless you. But most of us, I don't think we have that kind of capital laying around. And so I'll link to the article in the show notes. If you've got a few minutes, just sit down and read it. One of the things that I've taken an interest in my career is learning copyright and getting better at it, and learning a few things every month just to help me build my knowledge base. And I thought that this was a great article. It's a little lengthy, but I can definitely guarantee you that it won't be a waste of your time. So check out the link that I have in the show notes. And so now we're moving to my new segment of the week, which I started last week, which is Idea of the Week. These are ideas that are from my graveyard. Ooh, spooky Halloween music. I come up with so many ideas, and 99% of them I'm just not able to pursue for a number of different reasons. One is because of my time. My time is valuable. My time is best spent writing or coming up with solutions for writers or my writing business, and I just can't afford to spend the time or the money or the energy or the calories on so many of the different ideas that I come up with. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to talk about these ideas. I'm going to put them out there on the internet because I never know who's listening. And if you find something valuable in this and you want to run with it, go for it. And if you're successful, let me know. I will be a customer, but it's not something that I can pursue myself. And so my idea this week is what I'm calling a marketing optimization engine, or an MEO. So, Michael, what is an MEO? Well, I actually call it more affectionately Moogle. It's like Google, but for marketers. So think about this. You have a website, right? And your website is indexed and read on a regular basis by Google. And in order for your website to be read by Google and to be recommended by Google based on what people are searching for with keywords, you have to organize the metadata of your website and your blog posts and other content that you have in such a way that it is easier for Google to read and understand what is on your website so that it can relate it to other websites that are similar to yours and also return your website in a search value. Right? That's just very basic SEO, and I've probably oversimplified it to a certain point. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if there was a search engine for marketers? So if I'm a marketer and I am looking for something to sell or something to promote that is in my niche, or I'm looking for something that I want to develop an affiliate relationship for. Maybe I'm in the niche of writing software, and I want to find all the different writing software that's out there so that maybe there's something I can find that, I can find and I can do a YouTube video on it, or I can do a podcast on it, and I can, do an affiliate link and make a little bit of money. So what if there was a search engine I could go to and I could type in writing software and then Moogle, like I would call it. All my Final Fantasy fans are probably giggling a little bit. Moogle would go off and find all of the different writing apps out there and return marketing-friendly values. And now, what would this look like? Well, if I have a product or if I have books, for example, well, maybe I can structure my pages in such a way that it is easier for Moogle to find. So when Moogle comes to my website, Moogle will see my writing software, and it will return the writing software to the marketer who's looking for it, which connects the marketer with my product, which means that I'm going to sell more writing products, which means that the marketer is going to make more affiliate income, which means that more people are going to be reached. I think you get the picture. Now imagine this for writers. If I am a writer, or if I am a reader, or better yet, a writer. If I'm a writer and I'm looking for marketing opportunities, right? I've got a book that is an urban fantasy dystopia. Well, I go to Moogle and I type in urban fantasy dystopia, and I get search returns of different places that are looking for urban fantasy dystopia. So maybe there is a blog out there that is looking to promote urban fantasy dystopia, or maybe they're wanting to do an anthology of urban fantasy dystopian short stories, right? So Google does this today, but it doesn't do it very well. Like it provides information and it provides knowledge. It doesn't provide connections. And I think marketing is all about connections. And so if you think about affiliate marketing and you think about authors, we are kind of in need of being connected to readers. But it's difficult for us to connect with readers directly. Sometimes we need that intermediary, right? And so that could be something that could be helpful. Moogle, it's like Google, but for marketers. Take the idea if you happen to be one of those SEO gurus out there. All right. I think I saw this I saw something like this on the internet a few years ago. I don't think anything ever came of it because I thought to myself, it would be really, really difficult to start a search engine. I don't know that in fact, I know I'm not the guy to do it, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that's got that knowledge. So that's my idea for the week, a marketing optimization search engine. So what I want to spend the balance of the episode talking about is my topic for the week, and that is databases. So let's version 2. Sometimes I get so excited about these ideas, and sometimes they're unsexy ideas. That's one of my, I don't know, superpowers, and it's one of those superpowers that kind of blows up in my face more often than it succeeds. And that is that I am drawn to the least sexy ideas out there about writing and about writers. So, like, I wrote a book on mental models for writers. That's not sexy, although the book sells fairly well. So maybe I did a good job with my copywriting and selling it. I did a course on risk management for writers. Not sexy, right? and I know it's not sexy because very few people have commented on the course. So I am assuming very few people have gotten very, very all the way through my Writing in Hard Times course. authorlevelup.com/writing in hard times if you want to learn how to thrive as a writer in hard times as we are dealing with right now. Anyway, shameless plug. And so now I've got this idea of databases for writers. Anyway, my point is that these ideas, they just whisper to me. They say, Michael, I'm not sexy, but come talk to me. Help me get a makeover. I just want to fall in love with a million people. Just take me and make me sexy. That's what these ideas say. Those are exactly what they say, by the way. And I just say, well, I can't resist. And so I find these really weird ideas. It's almost like digging in a dumpster and pulling out stuff. One man's trash is another man's treasure, right? And I get these ideas and I see opportunities in them. Now, sometimes I'm ahead of my time. Sometimes what I see as an opportunity isn't really an opportunity, and it just doesn't connect. I learn from it and I move on. But this one is something that is very, very interesting. All right. So think about it like this. What if you had a question about your writing business? Let's say you want to know how many books you sold over your lifetime, or you want to know how many books you've sold last year on Kobo and Barnes & Noble combined, or you want to know how many book sales you've generated in the United Kingdom, or you want to know how many book sales you had for cover A of your book versus cover B to figure out which cover was more successful in converting people. Or you wanted to know some insights on your Amazon ads. Or you wanted to know, I'm getting audited by the government this year for my taxes. What did I pay in expenses in the year 2017, right? Now, just think about this. Any question that you have, and I can give you some more examples. What is the ISBN of that random book I published in 2014? For some reason, I need to know this because a marketing, promo site wants to know it or something like that. Think about all these questions that you have on a regular basis for your writing that you don't have an answer to, right? Now, I used a lot of sales examples, and the reason I used a lot of sales examples is because this is a problem that is as old as time for writers, and that is, how do you know how much money each and every one of your books is making at any given time? Now, I know some people will say, well, there's Book Report, and Book Report is great. There's nothing wrong with Book Report, but Book Report is only on Amazon. How do you know how much money you're making on Kobo and Barnes & Noble and Apple? Well, the short answer is, and I've polled several writers about this, the short answer is you don't know. You don't know. Now, I can use myself as an example. I have no clue what I sold on Barnes & Noble last year. Like, if you ask me, Michael, you're going to get shot in the head, and if you don't answer this question correctly, see you later. All right? I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be able, and I distribute to Barnes & Noble through Draft to Digital, so I'd have to download all of my Draft to Digital statements and, get a bottle of tequila and go to work. And so here's the thing. I've written over 50 books, and I have so many different assets: books, podcasts, YouTube videos, you name it, right? I've got a lot of different assets, and I just don't know how all those assets are out there performing. Let me give you another example of something that I would love to know. I would love to just be able to ask the question and get an answer. What is the price of my book on all retailers? No, and I don't mean open up different tabs and then look at Barnes & Noble, look at Apple, and then look at Google Play. I just want that answer today, right now. What is the price of book one in X series on all the retailers as it stands right now today? Right? That's something I've been dying to be able to figure out, because sometimes, I'll run sales or I'll run discounts and stuff, and I might accidentally put the wrong number in when I'm changing the price back, or I might accidentally forget to raise the price. Like it sounds silly, but it happens, right? I mean, when you got as many books as I do, you're going to make mistakes. And so wouldn't it be nice if I could figure out, and immediately, if I've got a problem with one of my books, I can go off and I can go find the answer, right? And maybe I'm charging $23 for one of my books, or $29 for one of my books when it should be $2.99. And how much money am I losing as a result of that? There's all these things that are going on in our writing businesses that we just don't know. And the reason we don't know these things is because we don't have systems, and we don't have data, and we don't have the capability even to be able to find this information. And in many cases, we don't even know what we don't know until something's broken and we realize, oh crap, I need to go fix this. But then we don't ever come up with a system to fix it. Now, I know I'm using the word we, all right? But I suspect that many of you who are listening to this don't even do anything with your royalty statements. You might just eyeball them every month and you say, okay, I made more money this month than I made last month. Or you might look at your bank account and that's all you do. But I imagine that very few of you are actually doing any kind of spreadsheet work each month to figure out what each of your books is making on every platform that you sell, in every country and in every currency. If you're doing that, email me. I want to know, because you are a unicorn. Most people probably don't do it because it's a pain in the ass. And pardon my French, it just is. I mean, think about all the different royalty statements you get. They're all in different formats. Amazon doesn't even convert your currencies for you. You've got to look at 2 different reports to figure out how much money you actually made on Amazon. And so it makes getting sales insights very, very difficult. All right. So again, back to this idea. What if you could ask a question and get an answer in real time, particularly about your sales? Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be really cool if you could look at one of your series and see instantly in real time how much money your series has made and whether it's profitable and how profitable it is? Now, when I used to do my royalties, I don't do them anymore. I used to do them, and it would take me hours every month to sit down and look at my Amazon stuff and convert the currencies and then put all my sales onto this giant spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet got so big at one point that it was just running really, really slowly. And so I thought, okay, there's got to be a better way to solve this problem. And I'm making more money in my writing business. I'm doing better. Every year I've been fortunate that my sales have increased. I've got to figure this out, because if I don't solve this problem, I've got a lot of stuff now. But when I've got 100 books and over 1,000 YouTube videos and over 1,000 podcasts, and I'm making even more money than I'm making now, this is going to become such a mega problem that it's going to prevent me from doing certain things, right? So I need to figure out this problem. And I think all of you listening also, if you haven't figured it out, need to figure out this problem as well, because even if you are sitting down each month and calculating the royalties for each of your books, right? That's not sustainable over time. If you have 1 or 2 books, or maybe 3 or 4 books, that's easy. You can do it. You can do it in 20 minutes. But if you get to the point where I am, you need a better solution. And why not start thinking about that today? So that is why I started to put together this book database. The idea is it's a database where I put all of the information for my books and my writing business in it. And then I can ask the database any question, and the database will return an answer. So I talked last week about how I'm putting in all my books metadata, for example. So I've transitioned to an eBook versioning system and a paperback versioning system, where if you look at the copyright page on any of my most recent books, I have a version number there. So anytime I fix a typo on one of my books, I update the version. So how do you keep track of that, right? Like, how do you know how do you know what version should exist on Amazon, right? Or how do you know what version you're looking at is the right one? Well, I put the versions into the database. And so then I can pull up one of my books and I can say, what version of this book am I on? And I can look at it and it's right there staring at me. And then also, maybe I put a link in chapter 5 that's broken, and I need to figure out what version I broke it in, right? Well, I can put that information in the database. And one of the things that I've been trying to figure out over the last week is, how can I put sales for my books into the database along with all the other stuff about my books, right? And I wasn't sure if I could solve the problem. But if you can get sales into a database, and if you can get it into a database cleanly, oh man, that's like, it's insane. So what I've been doing over the past week is I've been learning the ins and outs of Excel VBA. So, and I've been learning the ins and outs and the really weird quirks of all the different royalty systems, or the royalty statements that are out there. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Publish Drive, Draft Digital. I could talk all day about the differences between the royalty statements, and they're all different. They've all got their weird little quirks. Some of them are easier to read than others. And so what I've done is I used Excel VBA to take the royalty statements, clean them up, and then get them ready for import into the database. And like I said, it took me about 3 days to do the code. And now the code runs in about 5 seconds per report. So like, imagine the biggest problem was the Amazon reports, because like I said, Amazon does not convert their currencies on the royalty statement, it's maddening. It's maddening because you don't know what you're looking at, right? You don't know what you're looking at outside of US dollars. So, okay, I made $200 this month in GBP. Well, what is that in US dollars? You don't know. You have to go to a different report. Anyway, I'm going to belabor that point. Maybe Amazon will listen and incorporate their currency conversions onto the royalty statements. I don't think they're going to listen, though. And even if they did listen, I don't think they would do it. So that's one major problem. So what I had to do is, I said, I've got this royalty statement, and I know that I can import Excel documents into my database, right? That's cool, because then if I can get it into Access, then I can start asking questions, and I can start getting data, and I can start figuring out how much I'm actually selling, and it becomes much, much easier once it gets into Access. But the problem is, anything I put into Access from Amazon is not going to be accurate. I have to convert the currencies. Well, as I said before, I have to develop something that's sustainable. I don't know about you guys. I don't have time to sit down and look at my royalty statements and calculate the currency conversions for each of my books. I don't have time for it. And I know you don't have that kind of time either. So what I did was I built a currency converter through Excel VBA that actually inserts a currency converter into the Amazon royalty statement. So what it does when you click it is it will format the report and get it ready for Access. But then what it will do is it will convert currencies for all of the Amazon stores, right? So I live in the United States, but it will convert currencies for Great Britain, Germany, Japan, Italy, Spain, you name it, right? And it'll convert the currencies based on the exchange rates for the month. So all you have to do is you just have to go and get the exchange rates that Amazon lists on their payments tab. You put the exchange rates into one of the tabs, and then it does the rest for you. So then once the macro is done, you have a royalty column, which is what Amazon gives you, and then you have an adjusted royalty column, which shows you what the foreign currencies are in US dollars, so that you have a very good idea of exactly how much money you made that month. Now, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be pretty close. And so I found that was extremely helpful. So I was able to figure this out for all the Amazon reports. So the old Amazon report that was in production from 2014 to 2016, I figured it out for the old CreateSpace reports. I did this for the new Amazon report. I also did it for the Kindle Unlimited report. So now, if you want to know, when you look at an Amazon royalty statement, the entire picture, I figured that out. And it is extremely helpful to me. I think it's helpful for anyone listening, and I'm going to offer this for free to the community once I'm done with this. So if you're interested, keep listening. But I just think that's extremely helpful and extremely practical. So now I figured that out. So now I can get Amazon sales reports into Microsoft Access. I basically click the button in Excel. Excel gets formatted. Then I click the button in Access and I bring it in. And it comes in like butter, right? And once I get it in, like I said, I don't have to do anything else with it. So literally, I'm talking about maybe 10 clicks to where I don't have to do any kind of data entry. Let me repeat that. I don't have to do any kind of data entry on my royalty reports. The macro takes care of all of it, right? How interesting would that be if you could do that for all of your royalty statements, get them all standardized, and then get them all into a database so that you can start looking at not just your Amazon numbers, because we get those on Book Report, but you can start looking at Kobo and Barnes & Noble and Draft Digital. Wouldn't that be really powerful? Wouldn't that be really practical? Well, I figured it out. I figured out how to macroize, that's my new word, the royalty statements for every retailer. And basically, as I record this, I'm recording this about 12:15 a.m. because I've been up really late getting this to work. I successfully imported my entire first year of royalties into my database in about an hour. Let me repeat that. I imported my entire first year of royalty statements into this database in about 1 hour. And the only reason it took an hour was because I had to do some things over and make some tweaks to my macro. So the next time around, it's probably only going to take me about 30 minutes, right? That's a year's worth of royalty statements. Okay, I can't say this enough. A year's worth of royalty statements is going to take me about 30 minutes, right? Divide that by 12, you do the math. It's not going to take you very long to do this on a monthly basis. That's how powerful this is. And all of a sudden, you now have access to all of this information. So each of the royalty statements are kind of unique. They have different things on them. Almost all the retailers except Amazon, it's kind of interesting that they have a sale date. So like they not only tell you how much you made, but they actually tell you when the reader bought the book, which I think is interesting. There are some other sites that have other kind of unique things. It's just really interesting, right? And I don't know that we have, outside of this, a very good picture of data for sales at the macro level. And I mean, when I say macro, I mean global level, right? So the sales is one part of the equation, but now I can get sales into the database. I can link up the sales with all of my other information on the book. So I think I talked about this last week. So I basically pull up this database and it's got a nice looking front end, right? So I search for the book I'm looking for. And the book is going to show me the title of the book, the subtitle, the genre, the word count, the year I wrote it, the year I published it with the publication date. And then it's going to show me via tabs, it's going to show me who the cover designer was, the contact information for that cover designer, how much I paid for the cover. It's going to show me the editor. It's going to show me the links to the book on all the different retailers out there in case I want to go and look at it and see how it's doing. It's going to show me promotions that I've done. So I'm going to start keeping track of those now. Like, that's an interesting thing. Like, I don't know how people listening keep track of promotions, but wouldn't it be interesting if you could keep track of promotions for a given book, measure how much you spend, and then measure how much you make, all within the database, and be able to see it along with everything else, even your sales? Wouldn't that be interesting, right? There's so many other things I can track, and then I can track sales with it. And then I can start running profit and losses for each of my books. Like, this is so powerful and practical, but I don't know if anybody's ever come up with a solution for it, right? And the reason I don't think people have come up with a solution for it is because it's such a pain. It is a major, major pain. And so this is a pain point that I've solved for myself. Maybe this is something that helps you. But one thing I've learned is that this is not for the faint of heart. This is, I think, out of all the things I've done on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 15 in terms of difficulty level. and it's been extremely difficult. But one of the people I want to shout out to is I want to shout out to Tom Donahue. Tom is a listener of my show, and as I was doing these blog posts talking about what I've been doing, and again, don't forget, I've got a blog post talking about all this at authorlevelup.com/copyright database, and Tom happened to comment on the first post, and he's like, yeah, hey, I use Access all the time. I'm a data analyst in my day job. I would love to help you. Let's connect. And so I jumped on a conference call with Tom, and Tom showed me the ins and outs of Access, and Tom was extremely helpful to me in helping me figure out some problems that I came across with Access, some problems with royalty reports. He helped clean up some of my code. So I guess I can't thank Tom enough. So, huge shout out to Tom. I know he listens every week. I really, really have appreciated all your support with this, because I've learned things from you that I don't think I would have learned on YouTube. So it just goes to show you that you never know who's listening in your audience, right? So I hope that, this is my second bite at the apple. I hope that you can understand now why I think a database is so important. And okay, so I'm assuming you understand why this is important. I'm not going to belabor that point anymore, but let's just look at the future. All right. A project I worked on last year was a project, and I won't say what it was, but essentially it was to connect to the different APIs that publishers offer. API is like an application programming interface. Just think about it like this. It's like an electrical socket and a plug that goes in the socket. You can connect to Amazon or Kobo, and you can download the data that they have available, and it tells you exactly how to download it, right? And so we were working on this, and it didn't really go anywhere. But what I learned in that conversation was how the future is going to be interconnected. There are going to be more things that we can connect to from a data perspective. And how interesting is it that we can have a database that we can connect to data sources, and other people can connect their data sources to us? Isn't that interesting? Wouldn't it be pretty cool if, 5-10 years down the road, if let's say there's a new book publisher on the market, or not publisher, but a new book retailer on the market, right? So, we've got Draft Digital and Publish Drive and all these places, right? Say 10 years, another or 2 years, another new kid on the block comes along, and they say, hey, we would love to have your books. Please publish your books with us. Well, I'm kind of in the problem where I've got over 50 of them. Do you think I'm going to spend the time to upload all the books one by one to this retailer? No, I'm either going to want to send my books to this retailer and they can upload it, or maybe I can connect my database to their database and then use that to upload my books directly to them. Isn't that interesting? Like, imagine just being able, within the click of a button, or maybe a little bit of work, but you can directly upload your books from your own author database to someone else's. Like, I think that would be extremely powerful. I think about just the fact that data is going to be incredibly important. It's already incredibly important, but as we think about artificial intelligence, and we think about technology that's going to allow us to get more insights into readers, it's going to be pretty good to have as much data as you can about your business. Right now, one of the problems with artificial intelligence is that it requires an insane amount of data to even work properly. But that's just as it is today. There could be a day 10, 15 years from now where maybe you can have an artificial intelligence engine that doesn't need as much data as it needs today, and it can start calculating insights. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if you had a database that had all of your sales transactions across all of your retailers with 20 to 30 data points per sales transaction? Wouldn't it be interesting to be able to give that to an AI programmer and see what kind of insights they could give you, right? See, that's why this is powerful. Like it's powerful today because it helps me solve a problem, and it certainly eliminates a pain point and it creates some efficiencies for me. I know I'm using some business speak, but hopefully you can follow me there. But just the future potential of what this has compared to where we're going as a writing community, I think data is important. And I've talked about my strategy on this channel many times, and I hope it's something that people are listening to because it's something that I'm following. Is I've got 5 pillars as I think about 2020 and beyond. And when I say beyond, I'm talking about next 10, 20 years. First pillar is to be a world-class content creator. How can I do that? How can you do that? All right. Second pillar is to become a world-class marketer. How can I do that? How can you do that? Third pillar is to become a technology-driven writer. Well, I think that this project hits that mark, right? Fourth goal is how can I become a data-driven writer? Well, I think this project also hits that because it's giving me insights into data that I already have. I just don't know what it is, right? It's going to uncover so many things. It's kind of like when you're cleaning your house and you pull up the sofa cushions and you find money there that you didn't know you had, or you're doing laundry and you find money in a coat, like you find a $20 bill in a coat that you didn't realize you stuck in there. It's kind of like that. What kind of interesting insights could you potentially uncover with a database like this? That's why I'm exploring it. The next thing is to become the writer of the future. Now, we're living in some pretty uncertain times right now with the coronavirus pandemic and certainly all of the turmoil and the tumult that is happening in the publishing industry, not so much with indies, but with traditional publishers that, quite frankly, my crystal ball is broken and it's in the shop. And, the shop closed with the coronavirus, so I can't go and get it. But if I had my crystal ball, I don't think it could reliably tell me what kind of world we as writers are going to be living in next week versus 6 months. Like, I don't know. But I think if I look at what I already know, right? AI, interconnectivity, Internet of Things, continued improvements in technology and in efficiency. I think that something like this could distinguish a winner from a loser, right? Because you just think about that, right? Like if a new retailer came along and you can upload your books to them or get your information to them quickly, that's a market advantage, right? So anyway, I hope that, like I said, second bite at the apple. I hope I shared this with a little bit more enthusiasm and made it real on why this database is so important to me, because it is going to be, once I build it, a tool that's going to be in my arsenal regularly. And the great thing about it is I'm going to have a working, showable product in about a week or so. So maybe not the next time I talk to you, but certainly right around the next time I talk to you, I'll be able to start showing people this, and it'll be really, really cool. And for those of you listening, if you're interested in this, certainly join my fan club, authorlevelup.com/fan club. Something I will continue to do and something I've always done for a while is anything that I launch where I may put a price tag on it, and this will probably be something that I do put a price tag on, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But certainly if you're on my fan club, you'll get a lot of this stuff for free. So the macros that I built for Amazon, that's something that I'm going to be sharing with everybody at some point. because I think it has practical applications whether you build a database or not. So yeah, join my fan club. It is a really great place to be. And yeah, I'm going to cut the episode short this week. I hope everybody's doing great. Hope you are staying healthy and happy. And I know that a lot of places are starting to reopen. Certainly just be careful. Don't drink the Kool-Aid and get back in too quickly, because you never know what'll happen out there with the virus once people start getting closer together. So with that, take care, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.